Hi, I'm Constance Jones. It's Tuesday, March 30th, and you're watching The 6 on NBC6. The man accused of a brutal crime against a child is behind bars. Alex Santiesteban is facing several charges, including attempted murder, sexual battery, and kidnapping. Police say the 43-year-old forced a 12-year-old boy into his car, sexually assaulted him, and then shot him in the head. The victim managed to get away before collapsing in front of a business in Brownsville. Now, a few Good Samaritans quickly called 911. Investigators say the boy is lucky to be alive.
That bullet would have gone a millimeter in either direction and this boy would have lost his life.
Now, police say the boy snuck out of his house and then walked for a few miles to meet some friends. He was on his way home at around 2 in the morning when he was abducted. Governor Ron DeSantis says that he plans to issue an executive order banning vaccine passports in Florida. A vaccine passport would basically be a card or some other method of proving a person has been inoculated against COVID-19. The governor says businesses should not be able to screen customers based on whether or not they've been vaccinated.
It's completely unacceptable for either the government or the private sector to impose upon you the requirement that you show proof of vaccine to just simply be able to participate in normal society. You want to go to a movie theater? Should you have to show that? No. You want to go to a game? No. You want to go to a theme park? No.
Now, the governor's comments follows reports that the Biden administration is working on a system for people to prove that they've been vaccinated. A teenager accused in a New Year's Day tragedy has turned himself into police. The 16-year-old walked into the Florida Highway Patrol office yesterday to face charges for a crash that happened back on January 1st that left 4 people dead. Troopers say the teenager was behind the wheel of a Tahoe. They say he wasn't even supposed to be driving. He had a learner's permit. Investigators say he slammed into the side of another vehicle at the intersection of West 79th Avenue and Flagler Street. All 4 people in the car were killed from that crash.
The data revealed that the defendant was traveling at a speed of 111 miles an hour 1 second prior to the impact. Just to put that in perspective for you, the speed limit on Flagler Street is 40 miles an hour.
Well, the teenager now faces several charges, including 4 counts of DUI manslaughter. The boy's attorney told NBC6 they're entering a not guilty plea. The long-awaited trial of Derek Chauvin kicked off in Minnesota yesterday. Chauvin is the former Minneapolis police officer charged with killing George Floyd. The prosecution spoke first, saying that Derek Chauvin abused his powers when he put his knee across the neck of George Floyd for 9 minutes. But the defense says that he was just doing what he was trained to do as a veteran police officer. The courtroom also heard from 3 witnesses.
His breathing was getting tremendously heavy and tremendously harder for him to breathe, and you actually could hear him. You could see him struggling to actually gasp for air.
Now, attorneys say there are about 400 potential witnesses in this case, but not everyone will be called to testify. The judge says that the trial could last 3 to 4 weeks. Well, there could be a new hiring process at Miami City Hall. Commissioners will soon debate whether to change the city charter so that the key public safety positions would have to come through them. This comes after the speedy hire of Chief Art Acevedo, who didn't even apply for the position. He was chosen over 50 applicants and 8 finalists who went through a public selection process. Now, the new proposal would include a confirmation hearing, and at those hearings, 3 out of 5 votes would be needed on the commission to fill that position. Well, this was welcome news. The IRS giving taxpayers an extra month to file. But can you file this year if you haven't gotten your return from last year? Consumer investigator Sasha Jones has what you need to know.
Like so many of us, IRS employees around the country were sent home when the pandemic struck. A workforce not readily able to process returns remotely. 1040 soon piled up, and so did the frustrations of millions awaiting their much-needed refunds.
We are just getting through the backlog of those mailed returns that were sitting unopened for many weeks in 2019.
The IRS now says it is opening mail within normal time frames, but a mountain still lies ahead. As of March 5th, 2.4 million returns received last year were still in the processing pipeline. Add to that, another 6.8 million just arrived for this year.
We're asking for patience, understand the situation we're up against with 2 rounds of economic impact payments, 2 filing seasons, an extension, all the new laws, legislation, the resource issues, the COVID environment, to continue to process and get things done.
With the clock ticking toward this year's extended May 17th deadline, taxpayers report understandable confusion. One question: can you press send on that e-filing if you have not yet received your return from last year? We asked the IRS. The answer: you can still file. The IRS says anyone still waiting for last year's returns to be processed can just enter zero as the prior year's adjusted gross income. But refunds are not the only financial benefit being held up. Without their 2019 returns, many say they missed out on their full economic impact payment. And there is help for that too. On line 30 of Form 1040.
That recovery rebate credit line on Form 1040 is a backstop, if you will, and you would use that to get the amount of credit you're eligible for if you did not receive it in 2020.
And the IRS is asking for continued patience. They're asking that you do not call and also do not file a second return. They say that some of the refunds that could not be processed last year will arrive in the form of a paper check. In Miramar, Sasha Jones, NBC6 Responds.
All right, thanks for watching The 6. Remember, you can follow the latest news on air and online at NBC6.com or by downloading the NBC6 app. I'm Constance Jones.